Everybody and their mother wants to know about the brand new Sorcery Contested Realm TCG. Is it any good? Well, I got the fat and juicy details for you right here.
This is the intro for the Hatcher show. He didn't want to do nothing, so he's standing there.
What's hatching, my friends? We are here to talk about the brand new Sorcery Contested Realm TCG. I have had the opportunity to actually take a look at this game, and I have a ton of experience in the TCG world. So, in summary, if you don't want to hear everything I have to say, Sorcery gets a fat thumbs up. Gameplay's fun, quality of the game is good. So if that's all you needed to know, then get out of here. I didn't even want you here in the first place. Now, for the rest of you who want more details, let's start diving in to what the overall deal is. First of all, if you're familiar with card games like Magic the Gathering, you're already going to have a leg up with Sorcery because it leans in to some pretty similar concepts, but there are some big deviations as well. One of the biggest deviations you'll find, and this is going to be a major point for some people, is the fact that this game is actually played on a tabletop using a grid board, right? So you technically don't need to have one of these mats. Obviously, you can just use any tabletop spot, but unlike other card games you may be familiar with, the location of your cards on the board will matter. And there are cards that can target different regions of the board for some fun little shenanigans. So that, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be the biggest sticking point for people when it comes to the game. Some people are not going to appreciate having to move their pieces around the board instead of the straightforward, I'm coming at you, are you going to block mentality that you see from a simpler combat system. But other than that, this is very similar to TCGs that you've already seen in a number of ways. You have your life total, you're trying to knock your opponent's life total down. You are each represented by an avatar that exists in the void. So the flavor behind the game is there is this formless void, and you and this other entity are basically filling this void with life. You are causing land and life forms to come into being in this void, and your different elemental avatars. So you could be fire, ice, for example. This one right here is the water deck, and I don't know how well this is showing for you guys, but the artwork on this is absolutely stunning. And on top of that, the card quality, not just the cards themselves, but the quality of the boxes. Genuinely, the tactile experience of them is impressive. I was surprised. Every bit of Sorcery screams quality, right? My main experience in recent times, at least with cards, is specifically Magic the Gathering, and they have a bunch of card quality issues. Warped cards, faded artwork, poorly cut cards. These cards feel great. The artwork is amazing. Like, it pops off of the card so much. It's so rich. You can see that care was put into the construction of the game. Now, in terms of gameplay, you're going to be moving around the board, summoning different parts of your realm into existence, and then summoning different beings that you can use to attack other beings, or you can actually attack the lands themselves because they're connected to your opponent's avatar. So they could summon up, for example, a lush forest, and then you can go in there and start hacking away at the forest, and that causes pain to their avatar, which translates into damage into the game in their character. So you can hit them directly, or you can smash up part of their own essence, which is fun and create some really interesting combat scenarios where you can either attack directly into your opponent, or you can attack different spots depending on where they're located, where your guys are located, and then you have all the little cross-blocking options from all of your little dudes. So there is a fair bit that goes into it. Having the strategic placement on the board really does change. It has a similar combat aspect to games like Magic, but the board really does tweak that a bit because of your movement capabilities and things like that. So you're traveling around, summoning beings into the void, battling each other, and then one of the things that I didn't think was really going to matter that much in this game, but actually really did, is the death blow mechanic. So, in this game, if you knock your opponent down to 0 life, they're actually given a tiny little period of mercy. So once I hit you down to 0, now you're at death's door. And this was a concept in D&D that I always loved, where it's like, you're not quite gone. You're right there on the verge, right? So when you get knocked down to death's door, how that works is it's going to take one more final blow to destroy you, like Mortal Kombat style, the finishing blow, but you can't do it the turn that you reduce your opponent to 0. On paper, this really just sounds like, okay, so if I'm winning the game, I just have to wait an extra turn to win the game. I really did write off the death blow rule, but when I actually played the game, it really mattered. I felt like I had the game sewn up. I was playing with my lady, and she even seemed defeated, and I said, hold on, we don't even know what's in these decks. You don't know that you've lost. Don't give up hope. Anything could change at any point. And so she drew this gigantic, insane creature off her deck. I think it was called the Nightmare. I'll put pictures up of some of this on the screen so you guys can see. But anyways, she puts this thing out, and it's a fat honker that's bigger than anything I have on the board. And it was like, whoa, okay, my life total's already kind of low. It went from me feeling like I've got this game locked up, I hit her, get her into death blow, and then her turn, she just swings it around and wails on me to the point where I'm like, I barely think I'm gonna win, but I did get to do an ultimate epic finisher with this crazy massive fireball spell that blasts out in a radius. That's one thing I like about the board is the strategic placement, so you can go, okay, a dude's here, I'm gonna hit him with a fireball, it blams over 2 spots this way, like it cuts both ways. You can maneuver your opponent into strategic spots, but you can also end up in the wrong spot yourself. When I was playing against my lady, she intentionally moved one of her dudes who had crazy movement range, a little air elemental, over to this one spot where all of a sudden, that's how I won the game, because I could use this special super fireball that I wouldn't have been able to use for the finishing blow, but because she had moved her little air elemental to one part of the board, all of a sudden, boom, now I can target that area, and bam, I get to do the death blow and win. But it felt really down to the wire. The death blow mechanic is a fun little addition to the game. Time will tell whether that matters over the long term, and if you have really tuned decks and have a super advantage, whether you can come back. But using the precons, it genuinely felt like a meaningful mechanic. So the game is really straightforward. Take your opponent from 20 down to 0. All of the different realms that you bring out will have different abilities that either are always in effect, or when they come out, they do a one-time little boost or do damage or things like that. It's pretty cool the way that each of the different decks has its own unique identity. Overall, when I compare this to other card games that I've gotten into, there are certain metrics that I use to determine whether a card game is worth your time. One of them, straight up, is quality. How much care was put into this game? And from what I can see, a ton of care was put into this game, straight down to making sure that even the boxes that the stuff come in, they feel great, they look really good. I cannot express to you just how stunning they look in person, to the point where even, let's say the game actually turned out to be terrible, which it wasn't, I would keep these deck boxes purely for the art and the quality of them. So I am impressed with the quality of Sorcery. I think it brings interesting gameplay to the table that taps into the magic. I mean, it uses a lot of the same language. You can see that it was birthed from Magic the Gathering, and it keeps some of the old flavor. When you look at the cards, the way that the cards are described, there's just a lot that if you weren't around at the beginning days, you might not feel it, but if you're an old school Magic player, Sorcery has a lot to offer you in that regard. You have the additional depth of gameplay that's brought in by the battlefield setup, where you have a 5x4 arena that you battle on that you're both building together. So that is cool. That's also, as far as I'm concerned, going to be the biggest stumbling block for the game, in terms of some people are absolutely going to say, no, I don't want to play anything that uses a game mat. I don't want to have to worry about that. I just want to be able to sit at a whatever size table, quickly sling out a game. So there is that. But for me, I've played other games that wanted to use cards and tabletop grids and hexes, and they didn't really hit the same way. But Sorcery is a big win for me. The game has landed quite well, and I intend to continue playing it. And actually, after doing this video, it's made me realize I need a more firm rating system for these games in different categories. So I'm going to work on that. In the meantime, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I will be doing another sorcery video coming fairly soon, so keep your eyes open for that. Thanks for coming by, my friends, and I'll see you next time.